guys, and welcome back for another tutorial. My name is Ashley and this is Charmed by Ashley. So if you're new here, I hope that you subscribe. So as you know, we are getting into the holiday season, and what do we love to do? We love to decorate our homes. But what I don't love to do is spend lots of money on decorating my home. So what I do is I scope out all the decorations and then I come home and then I make it myself. Right? Because you know that it's going to be far cheaper if we make it ourselves. So if you're just a beginner sewist, trust me, you're going to be able to make these beautiful bows. As you can see, I've already started to decorate my home. These are all the different variations of the bow that we're going to be making in this tutorial. But I'm really excited. This is a fluffy, puffy, plushy bow, and they are trending right now. I've seen them in the stores. I've never seen them before, but this year, people are loving these bows. So let's take a closer look of this beautiful, stunning bow. Look at this. It is made with a gorgeous silk charmeuse. I don't believe it is a true silk charmeuse, as that would be quite expensive, but you can definitely go to your store and get some stunning, cheap looking or cheaper satin fabric. Try to get it on sale. I actually acquire a lot of my silk fabrics from the thrift store because a lot of people buy a lot of it and they want to make a project, and then it's one of those, I don't know what I'm going to do with this type of fabric again. So it ends up at the thrift store a lot. But look at how beautiful this bow is. So this is a fluffy, puffy, plushy bow, and I am just absolutely obsessed with this bow. So this tutorial is a pattern you can grab at the link in the description box or in the comment section. We're gonna have 3 different sizes. I might make a larger one, so keep, you know, I can't say for sure, but I am working on the pattern as we speak. It will be out once this video has been posted. But this is, I'm gonna call this one like the larger size. And then we have a smaller size, and then we have a little mini size, and this little guy can be used to decorate your tree, or you could put it on a little clip and wear it in your hair, and it's just so stinking adorable. Okay, but today we're going to be making this size, which I think is the most beautiful size to put on your door. I just look at how the light just shimmers off this beautiful satin. Now we are going to go over the fabric that I am using and what else you can use. So if you are going to the fabric store or the thrift store and you're looking around, you can make this out of a lot of different types of fabrics. I myself think it looks the most beautiful out of satin, but there are just so many options. Okay, so we're going to go over the different types of fabrics that you could use for your beautiful bow. I did get this fabric at the thrift store, and lucky for me, I acquired even more, but out of this beautiful blush pink. I got this at the thrift store for $6. Like, don't sleep on the thrift store. Go check it out. Look for satin, silky lining fabric. So you can also use cotton fabric. That's what I made these bows out of. This is the one we'll be making today, but then there's the smaller one here, and they do hold up their shape a little bit more. I do still find that the satin or the slinkier fabrics do too, because we are going to be stuffing it with polyester fiber fill. But you can also kind of fiddle with the cotton a little bit more and maybe, like, you know, make the pleats a little bit nicer. And so visually it might look a little bit nicer, but it might not have that luster, that look of Christmas for you. So you could also do a velvet or a velour, which would give you that velvety look. You could also use a rayon or a challis or just anything really just kind of like silky and slinky and just beautiful, right? We're just looking for the look. We're not looking for the quality at the end of the day. So again, I am going to be using this beautiful satin fabric so that I can have a second one of these, and then I can have, like, you know, maybe flanking my mantle or something. You could also put this on a wreath or in a little girl's bedroom. Maybe she loves her bows or princesses. Like, you could use this all year round. Okay, so not just Christmas, not just holiday. Okay, so the only other thing you're gonna need is some polyester fiber fill. That's just pillow stuffing. So, you know, if you're on a budget, go over to Walmart and grab some cheap pillows. That's what I do. Or if you have a pillow laying around the house you don't use, we don't want to make this a really expensive project, so just grab some old stuffing, and then we're going to need a 1/2 inch ribbon. This is a grosgrain ribbon. I'm going to be using this to make the tie so that it can hook and hang onto whatever you want to hang it onto. You can use whatever, honestly, at the end of the day, a little piece of rope or just anything just to be able to hang it up. But I am choosing to use just some ribbon for this project. And then we're going to talk about interfacing. If you're new to interfacing, interfacing is something that you put on the back of your fabric to create more stability, to make it a little bit more thicker, especially when we're working with fabric like this where it can be really slinky and, you know, just kind of balls up in your hand. I am not going to be using interfacing on the bow part, but I did choose to use it on the bow center. I made it without interfacing, and I found that the bow center kind of got lost. It kind of wrinkled up too much. So putting some medium weight or heavy weight interfacing onto the bow center pieces really helped to make that bow center stand out, and you're able to really see the contrast a lot easier. Now, if you don't have interfacing or you're not able to acquire interfacing, you could always take a similar colored cotton fabric and then just kind of, you know, glue baste it onto the back of your bow center pieces, and then that will help to add a little bit more structure to those pieces. So, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. You don't have to do everything by the book. So now that we know everything we need for this project, we can finally jump into making our beautiful bow. Okay, so I'm just going to go over the pattern super quick. You can download it over at the Etsy shop, and it will come with 3 or 4 different sizes. Not quite sure yet. We're still in the beginning stages. But this is the bow tail piece. So you're going to need 2 of these. We have the actual bow piece. You need 2 of those. And then we have the bow center, and we're going to need 2 of those. And again, I did cut out some interfacing, and I'm going to go ahead and fuse that onto the back. And this one has some glue dots onto it, so I just need to use a hot dry iron to iron it onto the back of my bow center pieces. Now, if you're new to PDF patterns, everything will be explained to you: how to print it out, how to tape it all together in the actual instruction PDF that comes with the pattern. So don't worry, I also have videos that show you how to tape it all together, because I know that this can be a little bit intimidating. It's not like going to the store and just buying the pattern in an envelope and bringing it home and then, you know, stretching it out. This is actually printing it out on 8.5 by 11 printer paper, and then we tape it all together, and then you cut out your pattern pieces. So don't worry, I got you. Everything is going to be explained. And now that we have all of our pieces cut out, we can start sewing. Okay, before we get sewing, I am going to be ironing the interfacing onto the back of my fabric. Now, you need to be very careful depending on the type of fabric you get. If it is a polyester, it can burn. So you need to test that out first with your iron. First, we're going to turn it down. So there might be a wool and silk setting. You might not be able to go directly onto your fabric. I've already tested this. This is a pretty good fabric. It's pretty thick. But if you're not able to go directly onto your fabric, then you're going to want to grab a pressing cloth or a towel. You can dampen it a little bit. We just don't want to scorch the fabric, which can be easily done if you're working with polyester fabrics. Okay, so as you can see, now I have that interfacing. It is secured to the back, and now it's a little bit more stable. Okay, so now that we have that done, now we can prepare our pieces to sew. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the bow portion, and we're going to put these right sides together. This fabric is not my favorite to work with because it is so silky. It does tend to warp as you're using it. So you'll be like, I know I cut out a square or rectangle to begin with, but now it looks all like wavy and just, I assure you that once the bow is constructed, that's not going to make a difference. But it does not always look great. But use lots of pins, because it does shift, it does tend to shift under your presser foot. And now we are going to sew all the way around, but we are going to be leaving a little hole about 2 inches in one of the longer edges, so right in the center. So if you wanted to find the center, you could just fold it in half and just kind of clip a little triangle into it or mark it with some chalk. And then I'll just get a marker, like a little Crayola marker, and then just kind of like 1 inch on either side of that center mark. And we're going to use that hole to flip it right sides out. And the same thing. Just carefully line up the edges. Just like that. And I'm going to be again leaving a gap, and I'm going to use it on the shortest side. Okay, and then we are going to do our bow centers, put those with the right sides together. And we are only going to sew down the long edges. So we're going to be sewing down this and this, leaving the sides open, and we'll use one of those sides to be able to flip it right sides out. Okay, so I lined it up with the notch for that opening that I placed with my marker, and I'm just going to begin sewing a straight stitch, and we're going to be doing a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, especially because this fabric does tend to fray. So we want to give ourselves a good amount of space so that we're able to use pinking shears at the end. And make sure that we have both of our edges together. Fabric is so shifty and slippery. And the pins do tend to just kind of fall out, so you might need to remove them as you go. And we're just going to lock off our stitches, and there we go. Okay, so let's move on with our tail. gonna choose or pick out that center there. Okay, so I just notched the center, and now I'm gonna start 1 inch away from there. Keep going. I dropped a pin. This is why I hate pins. Drop them. And the bow center. Okay, we're just going to talk about how you can finish off the edges if you're concerned because this is very fray. So the one option you can do is you can use some pinking shears. These are ones that I have had for a long time. They're from Fiskars, and they have these little, you know, kind of zigzag edge. This will actually prevent it from fraying. So all you would do is just cut down your sewn edge. That's why I like to have a little bit of a thicker seam allowance to have room for this so you don't end up cutting any of the stitches. That's one option. Another option would be to serge it. So if you do have a serger, you could just serge along all of your sewn edges. And another option would be just to use your regular sewing machine and use your zigzag stitch, and you can just sew a zigzag along the edge of your fabric, preventing all the little frays from coming out. Okay, just gonna remove all of the pins. Okay, and the bow center. And that, okay. So I have regular scissors and I have my pinking shears. With the regular scissors, you're actually going to be snipping the corners of all of your pieces. And this is going to help to reduce the bulk. So when you do flip it, you can poke out those corners really nicely. Do that on the tail as well as the bow piece. Again, all of this is included in the sewing pattern. So if you do decide to grab that, the PDF instructions will include all of these little extra steps, so you don't have to worry about it. And then if you want to go ahead and just start to finish off all of your edges, and while you're doing this, you're going to want to inspect all your seams. Make sure that all of your fabric was caught when you're sewing. Sometimes, again, that silk can be quite shifty, and you won't realize that you left a little hole somewhere on your fabric. So closely inspect it before you flip it so that you don't have to flip it back again. Now this is definitely a long process, and doing something like a serger would cut down on this, or you can just skip it altogether. Are you worried about this falling apart for years and years and years? No, you're not probably going to use it from year to year. Then skip this altogether. If you are making this to sell, or if you are making this to stand the test of time, then you might want to take that extra moment just to finish off all of the edges of your fabric. Also be aware that it gets really messy. Oh my goodness, so much messiness. I like to have a little desk vacuum on hand for all of these little pieces. And I have anything that I use in these videos, I do have them linked at my Amazon, and that will be linked down below. So if you're interested in grabbing something, or if you want to give me the gift of, you know, during this holiday season, if you're shopping, using my Amazon affiliate link also helps support my channel, bring you more content. You know, all of the fabrics and things I try to get it at a discount at the thrift store, but it does get expensive either way. And yeah, I would love that. Okay, so now we can go ahead and flip all of this right sides out. And you're going to want to have a little poking tool. If you have a point turner, it's really easy with that silky stuff. You can kind of just whip it out. We'll do the bow portion. Okay, and then I just like to use a bone folder from my paper crafting days, and be very gentle when poking out those corners, especially since we did cut the fabric there, so it's very easy to just poke right through that corner. And then you'll have this little weird fraying corner. Believe me, I've done it. And then we'll do the last corner. Very beautiful. And you don't necessarily have to press this out. If you're using cotton, maybe you want to press it a little bit. But with these silky fabrics, we don't need to press it. We're just going to end up stuffing it. Oh, it's so pretty. I love this fabric. It's so beautiful to hold too. Ah, see, I just did it right there. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that corner out, and I'm just going to quickly reinforce it with a few stitches, because you can already see it's a weird fraying corner. Can you see that? Oh God, what such a pain. Okay, I went ahead and did that. And it wasn't necessarily that I didn't cut the stitches or anything. It just was because the fabric frays a lot, and there just wasn't enough fabric there. And it just kind of ripped through. Okay, now the bow center, because it is interfaced, I do like to press that super quick, just to make sure that the seams stay on the side as well. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and grab my ribbon, and I'm just gonna be using like a 4-inch piece. I'm just going to wrap it around the bow center, give it some seam allowance, and then I'm just going to sew the seam. Now if you don't end up doing this step, that's okay. You can attach something onto it at the end. If you want a shorter piece, you could sew it on just so that you don't see it. But it's not a big deal if you forget to do this step at all. I'm just gonna go ahead and use a lighter just to singe off the edges to prevent it from fraying, just like that. Okay, so now we have a little hangy thing right there, and I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna fold it in half, and I'm going to sew a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance right there to create our bow center. All right, now with this bow center, I am going to cut such a mess. I'm gonna do a little zigzaggy just to be sure. Just because if this bow center falls apart, then the whole bow falls apart. Just with a little quick zigzag, just like that. So we're going to take this bow center and we're actually going to flip it so that that raw edge is hidden on the inside. And we'll put that towards the back. Cute! Okay, now it is time to do our stuffing. Now you're probably asking, how much stuffing do I need? And not very much. So it's kind of just like a feel it out as you go kind of process. Hopefully I can kind of guide you, but what I like to do is I like to take chunks, small chunks, and then just kind of put it inside of our little pillow. Okay, just taking small chunks. You don't want to overstuff your bow. We only want enough for it to be able to hold its shape. We do want it to kind of stay away from the center a little bit because that is where the bow center is going to go. So it's going to be all kind of scrunched up in there. So just kind of putting it in, and then we're flattening it with our hands. Now I don't have some here and some here, so we're going to need a little bit more. Oh my goodness, my kitty. What are you meowing about? That was the cutest little meow I've ever heard in my life. She wants my chair. That's all. Okay. So like I said, it doesn't need very much because like if you have a nice layer and then once you kind of scrunch it up, then it'll kind of separate and go to the sides. So just kind of test it out like that. Just gonna put a little bit more. You might want to stuff it a little bit more, just depends on your look, your vibe, whatever you want to do. Okay. Set me a little bit more on the right or on the left. And you might need to just kind of stick it into the corners a little bit. Just like that. Beautiful. Now I'm trying not to have too much here. I want it more to be here. So then we're going to take our bow center and we're going to sew that up. Now you can do this by hand. I will let you know that if you do it with the machine, there is the chance that you might see it. You can fiddle with your fabric so that you can't see it. But I do recommend using a matching thread And then you won't even need, that won't even be an issue at all. You can easily use your machine. You doing it by hand, of course, will take longer, but then you can do something like an invisible stitch or a ladder stitch, and you won't even see that at all. But we're gonna go ahead, I'm just gonna do a little quick top stitch. I'm gonna be using white thread for demonstration purposes, but I highly recommend you using a matching thread. But before I sew that, we're gonna go ahead and stuff our tail in the same manner. Same thing. I want to shove it down into those corners so that we can really see the bow's shape. That. I'll flatten it, and I'm going to need more stuffing, so I got to go grab another pillow. So I will be right back. Okay, I'm going to keep stuffing away a little bit at a time, and I'm going to say that I have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 5 bows with 1 pillow, which is pretty good. So if you're wondering, and it's just the standard pillows I got over at the Walmart. Okay, so just kind of massage it flat. Perfect, so beautiful. Same thing, I'm just going to fold in those raw edges, and because it's so silky, I like to use some pins just to kind of, we're almost done though. Just gotta do these top stitches, and then we get to fully assemble it and see how beautiful this can be. Now if you're making these yourself, like this, it takes no time at all. Of course, I'm taking my time with you guys. So, okay, let's go ahead and do those top stitches quick. Quick little. Just like that. If you're using matching thread, it would be virtually indetectable, and it will be under the bow center, so it's just that sometimes it might not be under the bow center depending on how big you made this hole. So we're trying to make it so that it is under the bow center, and then you won't see it, and that's why we have it centered. Okay, we have all of our pieces assembled. Now we can actually turn it into a bow. So I'm going to start with the center with my little top stitching down. And I like to kind of use my hands to massage that stuffing out of the way. Okay, and we're going to take one side, scrunch it up as best as you can, and we're going to put it through our bow center. Now this is going to be tight, very, very tight, and that's okay. That's how it should be, because we want our bow to stay together. Try to make sure that all that stuffing didn't get pushed to one side. And you can see how it is taking shape already. And that's why I like to use that interfacing, is it really does, you're really able to flatten it out and make it look so cute. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love it so much. Okay, so now we have our main bow. And this is even a more of a trickier part. Now we're going to put this big tail in there too. So it's going to go like this, and it's going to go like that. Okay, so the curved, or the whatever, I mean, you could do it this way, but I really like it that way. And so we'll do the same thing. We'll just kind of make it so that all that fluff is to one side, and we're going to stick a corner through and then pull. Just like that. There is going to be so much fiddling, so be ready for that, but that's okay. You'll have to fiddle with it every time you pull it out, every season. But just like any other bow, that's what you got to do. Now, I've been fiddling with these bows for a while now, and I have a little kind of way that I like to do it. So the tail, you want it to be behind your bow. Okay. You want it to be overlapping it. So on the back, you can kind of make it so that it is on the main bow. Okay. Now this is why you don't want to overstuff, is you don't want, if it's too stuffed, then it'll like push this up, or it just won't lay flat. So you might even want to put like a heavy book on it, if just to like push it all down. Over time it'll lay like flatter and nicer, but right now it's just super plush and fluffy. But oh my goodness, isn't that absolutely stunning? Oh, I'm obsessed. It's just so beautiful. Okay, and we're done. How beautiful is this bow? I am obsessed. I swear, I make them better every time, right? Like, I think I figured it out. How stunning is that bow? There's just something about a beautiful silk bow. And you could even put it on your head. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you make some beautiful bows. If you do, please follow me over on my social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I would love to see it and share it with the community. If you did enjoy the pattern, please leave a review over at my Etsy shop so that everyone else can see what gorgeous bows you can make with this beautiful pattern. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next tutorial. Bye guys!